What is up, guys? I am the Masters Math teacher, and in this video we are going to be exploring the concept of set notation and how that applies to sets of numbers. So jump on board and let's get into it. So what is a set? A set is just a collection of objects. Okay, so this applies to English as well. If I said I had a set of shoes or a set of cutlery, it's just a collection of those objects. The way we denote sets in mathematics is with these curly brackets. So if I said A equals curly bracket 1, 2, 3, 4, and the curly bracket, what that means is that A is the set of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, each of these objects, what we call them in maths is elements. Okay? And we denote that with a funny symbol, looks like an E kind of, that. Okay, so this means elements. So if I said the number 2, I can say that is an element of A. So that reads 2 is an element of A, which is correct, right? Because 2 is in A. Now, if you remember back, you might recognize the symbol equals with a cross through it. You might remember that that means not equal to. The same thing applies to sets. So if I write not an element of A. So we could pick any number that isn't within 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I could say 5 is not an element of A. Okay, so that is not an element. Now this slash on its own, it also means a very similar thing. So if I just write the slash there, it means a very similar thing in sets. So if I said maybe let's make a second set B, and let's call it the set of 2 and 4. Okay, so if I said A slash B, what this means is what is in A, what's in A, but not in B. Okay, so A slash B, that is equal to, well, let's have a look. Elements in A, we've got 1. That's in A and not in B. Awesome. So we're going to write 1. The number 2, that's in both A and B. So 2 is not part of this. The number 3, that is, because it's in A but not B. And 4, well, that's in both, so that's not part of it either. So our answer to A not B is 1 and 3, the set of 1 and 3. Now, what if I considered B not A? So B not A. Well, let's have a look. We look at B, we have the numbers 2 and 4. Is 2 in A? Yeah, it is. So that's not part of our answer. Is 4 in A? Yeah, it also is. So there's actually nothing. So I'm going to write nothing here for now. But in maths, we don't really like to use words, do we? So instead, we actually have a funky little symbol. And it's this symbol here. It's a circle with a line through it. And what that means is the empty set. So it's the set of nothing. So instead of writing B not A equals nothing, I would write B not A equals the empty set, because there is nothing in it. So this brings us to our next interesting point. So because us mathematicians like fancy words, we actually give B a special name when comparing it with A. What we say is B is actually a subset of A, because every element in B is in A. It's all inside of that, right? So it's a subset. So we can say that B is a subset of A. But of course, this looks ugly, doesn't it? We wouldn't write all those words. We're mathematicians, we're lazy. So we give it another symbol. And it's like a little C with a line underneath. So this says B is a subset of A. Okay, so C with a line underneath means subset. So that's a whole lot of info. Let's try it out with another example. So I'll scroll down here. Let's make a new set. We'll make it C equals the set of -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'll make a second set and let's call it D. We'll let D have the elements 0, 3, and 5. Oops. So, first, let's have a look at some of our notation. Pick any number in C and we can say that it is an element of C. So I can write 4 is an element of C. Remember, because that is element. Now I want to know C but not D. I want you guys to pause the video for a quick second and see if you can work that out. Alright, so C but not D. Let's have a look. Pull out a highlighter. We're looking for elements in C that are not in D. So we have -1. We don't have 0, because if we look at it, 0 is in both. Okay, so that's no good. 1, that's fine. 2. 3 is no good, because 3 is in both. 4 is fine. And 5 is no good, because 5 is also in both. So when we're writing C but not D, that gives us -1, 1, 2, and 4. The set of -1, 1, 2, and 4. So what about the opposite? D, not C. Again, pause the video for a quick second and see if you can tell me that. Okay, well let's have a look. We already really found out which elements are shared, and we've already really said everything in D is in C. So if we're looking for D that's not in C, we've got nothing, and we denote that with the empty set. And sure enough, that leads us to that fancy word we discovered before. That means that D is a subset of C, because everything in D is in C. Alright, time to look at the last two symbols we need to cover in this video. That is this guy, this little U, and this guy. It's like an arch, or I'm going to call it an N, and I'll explain to you why in a moment. So what this U means, and I'll actually highlight that. U means union. Let's think back to English. What does a union actually mean? If I were to work in union with you, it'd be putting all of our knowledge together and skills together to find out the answer. The same thing applies for maths. The union of two sets is everything, is all the elements in both sets together. So the union of both sets is all the elements, from both sets. So let's take an example of that. I'll make two new sets. I'm going to make E equals 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to make F equals 2, 3, 4, and 5. So when I look at E, U, F, what that means is E union F. So all elements from both sets E and F. So let's take a look. What do we have? We have 1. I'm going to write my set notation. 1, 2, 3. I have the number 4. And I have the number 5. So that is everything from both sets. I have the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 spread out over E and F. Now you might be wondering, why did I only write 2 and 3 once, even though 2 and 3 are listed in both? When we think about a union, we only have to list each unique element. So even though 2 and 3 were listed twice, because we've put it in the set, we've listed the unique element 2 and 3, even though they appear twice. So it's actually okay. We only ever list each number once. All right, let's look at this N, or this arch. Now this is an intersection. Intersection of both sets. And what does an intersection mean? Well, let's think. If I had an intersection of two roads, it means when they cross. Okay? If I had an intersection of multiple roads, it's where all the roads cross in the middle. So it's everything they share, that little crossing. So let's look at E intersect F. Intersect. Well, what do they share? We already found that out, actually. They share 2, and they share 3. So the intersection, what they have in common, is 2 and 3. I might put in common up here. Now these are not a subset of each other. Unlike above, where D was a subset of C, these two sets are not subsets of each other. And let's think of why. Let's look at E not F. The elements of E that are not in F is just 1. If we look at F not E, we have the set of 4 and 5. Now neither of these are the empty set, which means neither of these fully fit inside one another. Even though E is kinda close to F, we can't fit all of E inside F. So they are not a subset. And I could even denote that as E not a subset of F. And vice versa is correct as well. Now I know union makes it a lot easier to remember, right? U means union. The little arch, or the N, doesn't make as much sense. However, what I like to do, I like to use that as the N for intersection. I find that helps me because then I remember, okay, if I see a U, I'm doing the union. If I see that little arch or the N, it means the intersection of both. I don't know if that helps you, but it helps me, so I figured I might as well say it. Now there was a lot of content and theory covered in this video, and that's because it's a new concept. Okay? There's a lot of new symbols involved when dealing with the language of different concepts. Alright, well that's all from me, folks. I'd say good luck, but you guys don't need it. Go smash out some maths. And if this video helped, leave a like. If it did not, leave a dislike, and let me know what went wrong and what I can do better for next time, because I want to help you guys. If there's a topic you guys want me to cover next, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.